Hey everyone, JSD Cool here, and welcome back to Stormworks, a game that I haven't played on YouTube since January 2nd, 2019, and that was a while ago, to say the least. Just to give you a context of how long ago that was, in that time there has been so many updates to the game that many of the menus, this still looks the same, but there have been 2 DLC releases. Admittedly, those have been more recent, but yeah, a lot of stuff has changed. A lot of stuff has been added. But I'm more concerned with specifically the newest DLC, so the second one, which is Industrial Frontiers DLC, which added all of this down here, as well as reworking. No, I don't want to fast travel. Dang it! As well as reworking all of the rail lines. So that is why today I am going to be making a new train to help me traverse all these new train lines. Now, this train is not going, I mean, you've probably seen the title, but this train is not going to need to have any fuel or ever be like brought back into here, apart from maybe if it actually gets damaged by the weapons DLC. This train will just be able to work for basically ever, and that's because we are going to be powering it via nuclear power. Now, recently I've been doing a bit of experimentation with nuclear power, which you can kind of see, I guess, the results. This isn't actually where I was doing the experimentation, this is just kind of what I wanted to show. So, let's get started over here, and just ignore the sounds of generators and such. This is the first nuclear reactor generator setup that I ever really made myself, and it kind of works. I mean, these things are all producing like, I don't know what, 54 energy, which I think that's actually a little bit high from what I can remember about these things. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But this really isn't all that great, as yeah, there's only like 6 RPS in there, and the boilers are just directly feeding into this. So this was the first attempt, and to be fair, this doesn't produce much power. So after a bunch of experimenting, I then created this one, which, as you can see, these things are generating a lot more power. Oh, actually, over double the power, because I started pumping the fluid around from the boilers into the turbines, which actually helped speed up, well, which significantly increased the flow rate of the steam through the turbines. As you can see, this is at 1.6 liters per second versus this is just at 0.8. And then additionally, what I did with this, oh, it's thundering now, is I put some pumps into the cooling system here so that it actually circulates the fluid, because the only pumps in this were between the actual reactor part here and the boilers, as you can see. But that is not where I stopped. No, I continued to experiment further and found out even more. For instance, one boiler can produce a lot more steam than one turbine needs. So what you can actually do is expand it out into many more turbines that all have similar levels of generation, while all being fed off of one singular boiler. Now, this is not the limit by any means, it's just a few that I put down to show my example of the cause. Now, as for why it's necessary to do this, because, you see, we're going to be using large motors to power our device, and large motors are kind of annoying in the fact that they take absolutely all the power when they have a significant load on them. And the more generators that we can slap on something, the more likely we'll be able to actually fully power that motor, giving us the best possible speed. Of course, this is all subjective, and we're going to actually have to get to building this. Now, when it comes to the actual design of the train itself, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing something a little bit similar to what Union Pacific did when they wanted to use gas turbines on their trains, and that is the actual engine itself is going to have all the motors, but we're going to have cars that are connected behind the engine that actually does all the power generation for those motors. So yeah, let's get into building, I guess the cab where all the motors are right now. Alright, a while later, and I have done a bit of designing here for, mind you, this is just the engine. There will be no power generation done inside this engine. It's also not really painted apart from like the outline of where the door is, but that's just something else. Additionally, you may notice the back looks weird, and that's because I happen to know that I'm going to need to make the generation cars literally the maximum size that I possibly could, so I preemptively made the back larger so that it doesn't look too weird when it goes from this small engine to the giant car behind it. So anyhow, let's just take a little bit of a tour around the locomotive while we're here. So we have the little entrance room with the fancy doors. We got the actual cab here. We got the seat, some buttons and stuff. I'll go over the features that this thing has later. We got a bit of logic in this little space here. Okay, back in here we have a bunch of batteries, which is, able to sustain this thing well enough without a generator or supercharger or whatever I'm going to call it attached. We got a bunch of gearboxes here, some of which actually aren't used, but I can't be bothered to remove them. And then we have 3 large electric motors in the back here, which hopefully may have some use, because from my testing, additional motors haven't really done anything, but I haven't been pulling anything either, so maybe more motors will be necessary once there's more stuff. And I've also tried to be using the gearboxes, but they also haven't really affected speed at all, so I don't know. We'll see in the future. Around back here we have 2 electrical connections. One of them is specifically just for power that goes to the actual motors itself, and then the other one, I believe, yeah, the top one is for all the other electrical systems, because if the electric motors use up so much power, or use up more power than is being generated, I don't want the rest of the systems in the train to go down just because these motors are using too much. So they have their own little electric network. Also, something that I found was that in the update that came out the week before the most recent DLC, I know they added some more stuff with trains, but something I didn't realize they added was train wheels or new actual train wheels like this, because previously we only had 2 train wheels, now we have 3, so that's pretty cool. Anyhow, let's get into an actual demo of what this engine can do. Alright, so here we are for the in-world demo, and the brakes are on right now, and the train is still sliding forwards. I can't help but feel this is probably due to the wind, but that's weird, I've never seen that. Anyhow, the fancy doors, which are on both sides. Damn it, I pressed R. Did I? I swear I pressed E, but apparently I pressed R. Anyhow, yeah, just a quick reset here, but anyhow, yes. Doors. I mean, look, there you go. Door. See, door. Well, it's not a real door, and this compartment here could be flooded. So that's why we have the main compartment here. So here we have this switch here, which turns on the interior lights. Then we get the actual seat here. So the current interface is we have a little speed, and you see it is registering a speed. Like, what the heck? If I turn this off, this is the brake, by the way, which. Yeah, it looks like we are going forwards a little bit faster. Weird. That back doesn't help, but I would think inside we wouldn't have any wind. Anyhow. Furthermore, here for controls, we have our throttle for the motors here. We have reverse, headlight, and our override traction control button. I didn't talk about that, but I'll talk about that in a second here once we get rolling. And then over here we have the thing that I'm trying to do with the number of motors that are in use and gearboxes. We're just kind of going to leave that alone for now because it didn't seem to do much good. So anyhow, most of this stuff is controllable from the seat. You can just see the list of controls on the side there. So, but you might be confused about quick brake versus brake. So quick brake is the space bar here, and it only presses brake while you hold the space bar versus the other button will toggle it and you don't have to hold the button. So anyhow, let's get going here, and I'll just crank this up so I can talk about traction control. So basically what the traction control does is train wheels, like as you can see here, can slip like these are doing here. So what traction control does is it actually controls a clutch that is connected to the wheels, so that when it's slipping, it decreases the amount of power the clutch has, and when it's not slipping, it will increase that power, which is what traction control is, to basically prevent as much wheel slip as possible. And so yeah, as you can see, this light here indicates that it is in fact doing something, but if we wanted it to just disregard that, we could just click the turn on override here, and that will just do whatever it normally does. But traction control, in theory, should be best. So yeah, that's the engine. Now let's get on to actually building the reactor car. I've probably finished the design here for the reactor car, I guess is what you would call it. And it does seem to work.
Now, on the inside here, it's very not navigatable because, I mean, yes, as you can tell, it's tightly packed. We have the walls are lined with the turbines and generators. We have the reactor all the way in the back there, as well as a motor in the front to allow this thing to move somewhat under its own power. So for just yard positioning, we have this little throttle lever here, which will allow it to move. We also have just a brake button. All this gets disabled when the car gets connected to the engine. And at least for now, the motor on this car can also be controlled from the engine because I was having traction issues without this car being able to control itself. And I still really can't bring the throttle above like 15% throttle, which is weird. But I do have a plan to try to deal with that, so I think I'll maybe go try and do that here in a second. Alright, so I made all the modifications that I think I'm going to make. My idea I was maybe referencing in the last clip didn't really work, but what I've ended up doing is I've tuned the traction control a bit and also given the a bit of traction control to the trailer itself. So the trailer does actually power itself, but that kind of does help. So anyhow, what we're going to do now then, this is basically as good as I think it's going to get, and this thing also generates way too much power for what it is, so should I want to build any cars that need a ton of power, and also should I ever fill that hole in the side of this car, yeah, this train will be very capable. So anyhow, I'd say we'll release the brakes and get going. Also, the traction control has a little monitor here, so you can see what the value of traction control is. Which actually, as it currently stands, it modulates the actual speed of the engines instead of just like the clutch output. So I don't know, I might change it back to clutch in the future, but yeah. For now, yeah, let's get to a time lapse of traveling over to the new lands. Alright, and as night is falling, we have reached the new lands. And yeah, now I guess we can just like, I mean, I don't know. It took a while to get here. Obviously, it was... No. It's the beginning of the day when we started from here. And now we're here and it's nighttime, so... I also don't have a bet on this, so yeah, I guess I don't know. We'll just follow the tracks for a while and just see where this takes us then. I know this is going to be kind of boring, just time-lapsing through a lot of this, but what else am I going to do? I mean, like, I don't even know what's on this island yet. Let's do more time-lapsing! Huh. Why have we stopped?
Well, this is interesting. Oh, there's a bit of wheel slip there. Well. Oh, that is fluctuating rapidly. Yeah. I know you probably can't see much right now because it's nighttime, and I realize that's probably an issue at this time. But yeah, let's see, where am I? I am here. Damn, that's some traveling that we did. I'm not even sure. I think we went down here, then across here, then up here. I'm not even sure, man. There is a lot of train tracks on this barren land. I mean, it's nighttime as well, so it's not like we're going to be able to see much. But somehow we're stuck. So hold up, I'm going to just turn that off. Go check what's going on out here. Man, I miss the days when we could have free infinite flashlight and it didn't suck when you were close up to something. Why are we stopped? They're terrible railroad crossings, by the way. We should not be stopped. We are not touching anything that should stop us. So I'm very confused. Unless the hitbox for this thing is just that big, which maybe it is, but like, in that case, that's a glitch. What's this here? That's not a button. I don't know why there's a box here. Guess I could just try override traction control, full throttle it. Traction control is still going nuts despite the fact that we're not actually moving, so we'll just override that and... So, if we reverse then... Yeah, no idea what's going on here. But yeah. I guess that's where we're gonna have to leave it because I am apparently stuck at this railroad crossing for some inexplicable reason. I mean, we're tilted, but like, huh. So anyhow, yeah, let me know if you'd like to see more of this game in the future, or you'd like me to take another stab at career mode now that there's been a million updates, and yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next video. So yeah, check out my game, linked in the description, and like, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!